Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brandon Shank, and welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast. Good to have you here. As always, we got Corey over here.
What's up, everybody?
Rocking a cartoon t-shirt. You steal that from Maddox?
It's cartoons now, huh? Cartoons.
He stole it from his son.
What are you talking about? I wear this shirt every day. It's my favorite shirt.
I'm telling you ordered that after last week. Tag still on it.
I actually didn't order it. I really didn't.
Just
I
kidding.
promise. I was like, oh, shoot, is the tag still on? I did check.
Hey, well, there's no better way to start this podcast off than to talk about the recent events in the WNBA and the NBA. Two things. Caitlin Clark made her debut last night with Indiana Fever. She had 20 points, 10 turnovers. My point is, everybody says NFL draft, Jaden Daniels. What do you think as a Commanders fan? I think rookies are rookies. I think Caitlin Clark's going to be the Michael Jordan of women's basketball.
Yeah.
But I think she had 10 turnovers. She's playing against professional athletes. That's all I'm going to say. Give these rookies a chance.
I thought she already made her debut. It was her first game last night?
Yeah, she had played exhibitions. This is like the first official game.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, in general, everybody always overhypes. She's not overhyped.
Yeah.
Angel Reese, all these people that are coming out, there's this big draft class, right, that came out.
Yeah.
And so my point is, these people, they're ballers, right?
Yeah.
But I think there has to be a level of expectation for all athletes coming out of college. That's all I'm saying. All athletes,
Sure.
So
I get you.
yeah, that's all I'm saying. There just has to be a level of it.
It's a different level, for
That's
sure.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think we come into it like, this and that, but you got Camila Cardoso. I think she was she's from Brazil. This amazing player that came out of South Carolina. Like, she's going to be a baller in the WNBA as well. There's all these amazing, and WNBA is really growing, which is cool. But I'm just saying, at large, I'm prepping all of our NFL fans that are listening. Take it easy on them. They're rookies. Like, you're not going to get much better athlete than some of these, like a Caitlin Clark coming out of Iowa.
Sure, yeah.
They're rookies. They're playing against veterans, people who played in the league. Everybody there, they're not playing just guards from Kansas State or, somebody who can, a good shooting guard from Duke. These are professional athletes that are being paid. They're the best of the best. So,
and they've played longer than 4 years.
They played a long time.
Yeah.
My other point is Nikola Jokic, for Denver. He dominated last night, right?
Yeah,
Denver went up 3-2. But something that happened really disturbed me. I was reading an article on just kind of the way the night went, and the comment made by the Timberwolves, they laughed because they said our defense was great. He was just unstoppable.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are saying this about him. Yeah.
And to me, I'm thinking, what has happened to us? If I am a competitor, there is a fine line between humility and not taking responsibility. If I have somebody that I am verbally admitting that I cannot guard, that is unstoppable, I'm admitting his greatness over ours on that particular evening. I don't think as a competitor I would ever have it in me to admit that. They said, our defense is great, there's nothing else we could do. I disagree.
Yeah.
Let me give you a piece of advice. Take all 5 of your players, all 5, and guard him. And you're saying, well, what about the other 4? If he is unstoppable and he is making every shot like you say, and there's no way you can guard him, then I can promise you that 5 NBA players will guard 1, no matter who that 1 is, right?
Yeah.
That leaves 4 left that have to make a shot.
Yeah.
If he is absolutely unstoppable and he cannot, no matter what he does, it is scoring, then how's it any worse? If they miss 1, your defense is better.
I love all the memes about him too. There's a bunch of stuff on TikTok and stuff where it's like he's playing, and the way he looks like while he's playing is like he's playing with like kindergartners, and he's so bored and he can't be bothered to play basketball. He's just like, what? Just draining shots.
Yeah,
and then going down.
Yeah, he's great, but just like this, it'll pass. It'll pass. He'll just be another NBA player in a couple years. He'll be a Hall of Famer, maybe.
Man.
All those things. I get it, but they talk like this guy, and I've watched him. He's great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But to say there's nothing else we could do, he's that great. I don't know. For me, that is just something I never would have considered as an athlete to admit that somebody was that unstoppable. Because I don't know. You just think like I don't want to give my teammates that.
LeBron said the same thing about him.
Just unstoppable.
Yeah, he was just like they literally asked. I saw a press conference with LeBron after a game where they played one another, and they literally asked, "Hey, is there anything that you can do? Is there anything?" And LeBron was just like, "Nothing you can do." Like that was literally his response. It's like, okay,
Why don't know why do they play the games then? Just give the trophy.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. If everybody's this and all about him, just give the trophy. Give the man the trophy. I mean, he admitted his own greatness in an interview.
Really?
About how great he is. Oh yeah.
I know. Like last year, it was really funny when he was like talking about the parade. He's like, "No, I got to go home. I got to go home."
Yeah, no parade for me. Yeah, it says the Wolves, they just laughed. They said they didn't see any weakness in their defense, and they said that they showed he's the MVP, and he said, Jokic said he's a freak of nature. His exact words. I'm a freak of nature.
All right.
So I'm excited to see how this plays out over the next 5-10 years of his career. You know what I mean?
We'll see.
Yeah, time will tell. So hey, what fun fact you got for us today?
I got a fun one. This happened on May 1st. But let me ask you, how would you feel? How do you feel when you get duped?
Explain your definition of dupe, because I can tell you what I think you mean.
When you get tricked.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you feel?
It depends. Is it something like everybody's in on and they're laughing, or is it something that?
How about you planned a day? You planned a day trip to go see an animal, at a zoo, and you've just been straight up duped.
That it's not an animal?
Well, it's an animal, but maybe not the animal you were told to come see.
So there's a difference between being tricked. So that's what I'm saying. Tricked and lied to are two different things. Because tricked, to me, if you got a bunch of friends, you're all doing something, they trick you, or your family tricks you because it's a surprise party, or your kids trick you into something is one thing. But to be lured into something and then it not to be what they said it is, that's criminal.
So on May 1st, a zoo in China sparked what they said was pandemonium, and obviously pandemonium, when they unveiled their panda exhibit. It was essentially just dogs dressed up as pandas. So the fake pandas unveiled May 1st at the Tazao Zoo in Jiangsu province were actually chow chow dogs, a big-haired breed from northern China. Zoo officials reportedly trimmed their mane and dyed their faces black to look like China's iconic bamboo-eating bear.
Wow. So they were legitimately trying. It wasn't like a fun play on words. They were legitimately trying to lie.
Yeah, they then put the so-called panda dogs on display in an enclosure every day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., attracting throngs of people despite the obvious bamboozlement, per the sanctuary staffers. When asked why they had the canines engage in panda cosplay, a rep explained, "There are no panda bears at the zoo, and we wanted to do this as a result." I got to say this. I know this is a podcast, and you can't really see the picture I'm looking at. They kind of look like baby pandas.
I've seen them. They do look like baby pandas.
When you paint them black and white,
they do look like baby pandas. I've seen it.
They legit look like...
My wife showed me this.
They kind of look like panda bears.
So this is the thing I don't understand about the Asian culture that I would love for somebody to explain to me.
Yeah.
There is a ferocity of achievement in the Asian culture.
Yeah.
Right? My understanding, and the stuff that I've done, even in like when I was doing my master's in organizational leadership, we studied different cultures, okay? The Asian culture, they work, and they will sit down in an assembly line and work 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Like they work, and they are about achievement. You know,
can see the clips of the kindergartners like doing stuff in. Oh, it's crazy.
Yes, absolutely. And so for me, you feel like this is almost criminal in Asia to dupe. And you think about when they sit around and they talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to know where that thought even comes from with a culture that is so strict on doing things. Like honor in Asian culture is the absolute biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
And I know you're thinking, well, man, we're going way too deep in this. I'm just saying I didn't know that Asian culture, when it comes to stuff like this, had a huge sense of humor when it came to me, like, because honor is everything, right? And so to do the quote unquote pandemonium, I've just never, especially as you said, it's in China.
It's in China.
So in China, I've never, and maybe it's because I'm an American that's never been to China. So I will admittedly say that. My impression from the distance of where I live has been very much like this type of thing surprises me.
Yeah.
That it happened in China, because my impression has always been this kind of stuff is not really, it's kind of frowned on in general. Now, maybe that's just an ignorant American that's never been there, but that's kind of the feeling I get.
Here's the craziest part about the end of the article. So I guess there is some precedence for this, because they said, so there's 2 quotes here, and this is from a pet store owner. All right. So they interviewed a bunch of people. There was definitely a crowd of people that were upset at this. And then there was a crowd of people that were like, oh, I thought it was cute. It was adorable. Yeah. Anyway. So the end of the article says, a decade ago, pups dressed as the bamboo-eating bears became such a hit item that pet stores couldn't meet the demand. So China has done this before and sold...
It's a cultural thing.
Sold dogs that look like panda bears. But then this is a quote, he went on to say this. 10 years ago, the natural instinct of a Chinese person was to eat a dog. A pet shop owner, I can't pronounce that, told this news reporter, now we are like Westerners and want one as a companion. That's an end quote gross. Right there. That's an end. I don't know how you end an article. Yeah.
Well,
but that's how they ended.
I think it just goes to show you why we have no idea how this is happening, because they just said we went from eating them 10 years ago to now we want to pet them. Yeah. So I'm as confused as they are. It sounds like I am as confused about their culture
happening right now in the world
as they are about the way their culture is shifting. Because to some people, I think, looking back, I think it's a cute idea. I think it's a cute idea. And you can't get pandas. You have a pandemonium. You dress these. I think it's a cute idea. I think it's creative. I just don't think, I'm surprised that people in China think it's a cute idea. That's all I'm saying. Because I don't know I don't know China. I don't know the country. I don't know the culture. But in my impression, it's a very serious, like to me, trickery or things like that, like a bait and switch feels almost like it's not honor, right?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Also, recently a giraffe was born without spots. Thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Just looks like a weird horse.
You're all about the animal facts today. I like that. Well, hey, you asked for it.
Don't blame me. You asked for it.
So something that disturbed me a while ago that really changed my life is based on a question I'm about to ask you. When you use the restroom, and there are 2 options.
This is my kind of stuff.
Yeah, you go into the restroom.
Okay.
You look straight forward. You pay attention to nobody but the wall. You step away from whatever it is you're doing. You walk over to the bathroom sink and you put the soap on your hands.
Yeah.
We hope. I'm walking you all through this in case you don't do this on daily basis.
Yeah. Wait, wash your hands? What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. All of my kids. I'm like, y'all are nasty. Then you put water on those hands. You wash the soap off.
Yeah.
You turn to the wall, and on that wall is a blow dryer, not a hair dryer. A blow dryer.
Okay.
A blow dryer, and right beside it is a paper towel feeder.
Gotcha.
Which one do you choose?
I'm going. What kind of paper towel feeder? Okay, this changes the game
it does.
for me. It really
automatic,
does
or you got to feed it.
Listen, the pool ones. Yeah. Your hands are wet. That doesn't work. Like those are, and then the weird side handle thing. I'm not big on that either, because you're like, my hands are clean, But an automatic feeder, I'm probably going automatic feeder. But if
you're going hair dryer or blow dryer.
Listen, if it's an automatic feeder, I do hate the fact that those automatic feeders spit out the tiniest little piece of paper.
Do you know you can adjust how long it comes out? Do you know that?
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth right now. I can do that, or the people that install it can do it?
We have them at the Little League. You can tell it.
So the people who install them can tell them. So they're being cheap and they're
like sometimes they come out, they're this long, sometimes they're this long.
Dude,
I learned it. I put paper towels in one day, and it's just a long paper towel thing, and you can tell it how long you want the sheets.
Listen,
to be.
I'm like, meh, meh.
Oh yeah,
meh. I need at least 3. I got a big hand.
Well, yeah, I get it.
So yeah, if it's an automatic, I'm going automatic paper towel. If it's anything else, I'm going blow dryer. But I think I might know where you're going with this.
Yeah, well, I don't ever use blow dryers. I will go without it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll do whatever I gotta do. I read an article last year that was talking about the amount of bacteria in blow dryers in bathrooms that you basically blow poo all over your hands. And for me, the exact opposite of washing my hands would be to blow poo on my hands. So I don't use them. I will go without. And there was recently an article that came out from scientists that had done some studies with the bathroom. And they were saying that there has been showing that the toilet is actually clean, that the toilet does its job because the water rinses out the bacteria. but that within 6 feet of the toilet, there is accumulating bacteria from that. And those of you listening, that includes your toothbrush.
Yeah,
that
that's
is
what I was
out in a
gonna say.
cup. So I need to know how many of y'all
say.
put your toothbrush away, because the reality is within 6 feet of that toilet is the most dangerous spot for the bacteria. Now, I'm freaking clear on this. My toothbrush goes in a sink, in a cabinet.
My bathroom's in another room.
And
There's
my
a
toilet
wall.
I have my own toilet room.
The wall separating.
It's a wall
mine.
separate, and it's the best thing ever.
Yep.
I haven't had a toilet in the same room in years. And when it's a great thing, because then, your wife can be getting ready and you could use a toilet or whatever, vice versa.
Yeah.
And you don't have to bother anybody. You do your own thing. And then you don't have to worry about your toothbrush having poo on it, which is always important to make sure you have a poo-free toothbrush.
I think there's a resound. Look, if you look into this, I'm just going to be honest with all the people out there. There's poo and urine everywhere. I'm just telling you,
I was enjoying my coffee.
it's everywhere. So, sorry. I hate to ruin
That's
your
why
day.
you take your shoes off when you go into your house.
Yep.
For real. They say the reason you do it is because of the bacteria on your shoes from bathrooms and other places. I always tell people, hey, just take your shoes off. My boys, take your shoes off. Why? Because I don't want to let my kids crawl around on a bathroom floor in my home.
Yeah.
So I always ask people, just take them off. Why? Because it's nasty. This is what I think. I think most people, I'm going to make a blanket statement here.
Yeah.
70% of everybody listening to this podcast right now has a fully protected toothbrush. That's what I'm going to say.
Well, they also say that's a big reason why you should close the lid of your toilet before you flush.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. They
My
literally
toilet-
say close the lid of your toilet.
My
Flush.
toilet lid opens and closes on its own.
Oh, man.
You walk in.
It opens on its
That's
own?
right.
Wow.
Yep, it does. You walk into the bathroom, and the whole thing opens up. You don't have to do nothing, and a blue light comes on.
Welcome.
Yeah, and it's nice, and the seat's already warm, and nobody has sat on it.
Do you have a bidet? That's my next question.
Yeah.
It has a bidet function?
Have you, dude?
You're living in the future,
It's
dude.
not just a bidet.
You are living. Wait. What does that mean?
It has functionality for both men and women.
Oh my goodness.
And how you want the spray to go, how wide,
this is.
and back and forth.
I think we'll wrap it up here
It gets
today.
worse. It gets worse. You can set the temperature of the water.
How's that worse? I mean, that's.
So you go in the middle of the winter.
Why do you even need to take a shower at that
don't.
point? Yeah, you just.
Because then afterwards, it has a dryer function.
Wait. This
I'm
is
not
full
kidding.
circle.
I'm not kidding.
This is full circle back to our original
I'm not kidding.
conversation.
But it's dry in your bottom. It ain't dry in your hands, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but listen, if there's
You
poop,
walk
if
in-
there's poop particles in a restroom dryer, there's
You
got to
walk
be one
in.
in a toilet
Hey,
dryer.
it says the toilet's clean. You walk in, the toilet seat opens. You sit down, and it's heated. You enjoy your morning stroll. You push the button for the certain type of spray you want. The water comes out at a nice 70-some degrees. Sprays you. When you feel like it's adequate, you hit that dryer button.
Listen, all you need in
And
there.
then when you get up, you feel like, why would you need? You feel like a fresh man or woman.
you don't need anything. I mean, why
And
do
you
you
go
even,
about your day. And I can tell you, when we moved into this house, I made it very clear to my wife, this has to go.
has to go?
It's something's wrong with it. I don't trust it. I said, well, as soon as we get the house settled, I just want a regular toilet seat. Couldn't have been more wrong.
No, you don't. Yeah.
I couldn't have been more wrong.
One turn.
Yeah, I could not have been more wrong. It was
Ticket,
the most
please.
amazing feature in that house.
Sorry.
I mean, it's incredible. That's all I'm going to say. It's incredible. I don't realize how bougie I am until I go
wife-
somewhere that doesn't
yeah.
have one, and I'm so angry. I'm like, are you kidding me? How do people survive out here with
cold
toilet paper?
toilet
Yeah.
seat?
And you have to use what? Toilet paper? This is disgusting. I have to use this.
Yeah.
I have to put this in my hand. Are you kidding me?
My wife already complains I'm in there too long. If I had a toilet like that, I don't know why I'd leave.
You wouldn't.
You have to go to work.
I tell my wife, hey, I'm up here on the toilet. If you can just bring dinner up here.
Working from home today.
Hey, those cold winter nights, you just need a little warm me up. You just go sit on the toilet and spray some warm water.
Man.
Changes the game, bro. And
That's
then
what I'm talking about.
it'll just move wherever you want it to move. It's amazing. It really is the greatest thing ever. I sit here and talk about it like I have the connection to the seat, and it's a beautiful
And
thing.
this is how AI takes over the world. We
You know,
never leave our toilets.
I'm all in. That's all I got to say. I am all in.
Ugh.
Anyway, put your toothbrush away. That's the moral of the
Yes.
story.
Yeah, please
All right.
do that.
Hey, so May, I didn't know this until I read an article this morning with Tom Brady in it. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I should have known that. Did you know
Wait,
that?
what did Tom Brady have to do with?
Well, he
where
was
are we going
talking
with
about
this?
being retired.
Okay.
And he was talking about how different his life is and about how the anxiety kicks in for him because when he played professional football, there was so many things that were dictated that he didn't have to determine. Schedules, regimens, workout habits, eating habits. But now that he's retired, those guardrails are off. And so he has control of his schedule. But in the same way, it creates anxiety because he feels like he bounces like a ping pong ball from one thing to the next sometimes instead of having a consistency in his regimen.
Gotcha.
And I thought that was interesting. And he said, for my mental health, he spoke specifically on that and about how his, anxiety and all these things, like it creates that in him because he doesn't have all these formatted things. And I thought that was very interesting. You talk about a guy who's going to get paid hundreds of millions of dollars to be on a broadcast on a Fox or whatever it was, and you talk about how he's maybe buying part of the Raiders, and just somebody who is all over the news, who really can do whatever he wants. He could fly anywhere in the world he wants right now. He's got kids. Obviously, he just went through he's going through a tough divorce. And then you talk about the anxiety that's built because you don't have a schedule. You would think that would release the anxiety.
Yeah.
But I think we don't realize how much structure creates confidence and control in our life. Peace.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I just thought, I know it's something you and I have both been very vocal about. It's a part of our journeys. I think we can very easily live based on labels. I don't want that to be my story.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the pastor or the guy that, had suicidal depression and was childhood sexually abused and all these things. I want to be Brandon Shank, the dude who loves God, moving forward.
Yeah.
But I think being Awareness Month, I just want to take a minute. Really, I know a lot of people that are listening. Some of the biggest responses we've ever gotten to this podcast are when we talk about mental health, because everybody deals with it to a degree.
Yeah.
And the people who don't deal with it may not know that they deal with it. That's really what it comes down to. Because mental health is not something, I think for so long we've looked at it as something that is specific to a particular group of people. And I think that's part of the problem. Mental health is just like physical health. Everybody has to work to attain it. You can understand kidney stones, you can understand heart attacks, you can understand skin disease.
Yeah.
But if you don't take care of yourself and you're not aware of what your physical body is doing and feeling, then you're going to have, like, there's some guys who don't go to the doctors for 20 years. Well, you should go get a checkup. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but if they don't notice a change in their body, sure, there are things you can see that they don't, but a lot of times they're fine for 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying everybody should go get a checkup.
Sure.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is we don't take the same inventory of our mental state that we do with our physical.
Yeah.
And so people don't think, well, mental health is for people that have a problem. No, mental health is something all of us have. Where that state of health is varies, but we all have a degree of mental health.
Yeah.
We look at mental health as, well, that's the problem. No, mental health is the state of that is where everybody is at differently.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I think that it's become this thing that we don't talk about as much because we honestly don't know how to have conversations, because people don't realize that the reason you're extremely tense all the time and stressed out isn't because you just have a bunch of kids and expectations in life. You're stressed out because you come from a family that ran and never taught you how to rest.
Yeah.
Or you married somebody that has an expectation that you've never talked about how they're affecting you, because you think, well, I'm not good enough, I can't meet those expectations. No, that's actually something from your past that you don't feel like you meet expectations. It has nothing to do with the present.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I know for me, the last couple of years, I had a 5-year period where I was like walking through suicidal depression. I came through it. Honestly, I was at the best I've ever been prior to COVID. 2019, 2020 was the healthiest I've ever been in my life. And I struggled as a kid with agoraphobia, which is a fear of leaving safe places. And I didn't realize that's what it was at the time. But when you're sexually abused and when you have mental abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, you don't feel safe unless you're in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Environments that are out of your control, you feel like you're vulnerable. And I had to learn that over time. And then following COVID, what COVID taught all of us was that the only safe place is where?
Home.
Yeah. Home.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sent the world in a whirlwind.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who struggle with mental health and had come through things, they didn't backtrack, but they had new things now to go through. Mm-hmm. Because we were all taught the only safe place is your house. And so as I started traveling after COVID in 2021, I went to Missouri, and it was that was probably really the first big trip I had made. I had made small trips locally, places that I felt comfortable with, like Maryland, 3-4 hours away.
Yeah.
Went to Missouri. The first night I was out there, I felt anxious. Second night I was out there, I woke up in the middle of the night with this horrible panic attack. It was the worst one I've ever had. It was like 30 minutes long. My heart was beating out of my chest. I'm overwhelmed. I'm by myself. And I'm thinking, I'm going to die here. And I hadn't had a panic attack for 10 years. So I woke up. I always open up the book of Psalms. I just start reading it out loud. Gives myself peace. I start praying prayer language and just like, Lord, I need you to help me, man. Like, I'm going to die. I had just been so disconnected from panic for so long.
Yeah.
And I got through that one. I didn't have them the rest of the time, but I felt really anxious, but I was good. I was there for like 10 days doing ministry, speaking at different churches and things. Fast forward to 2022, I was at a district tournament for baseball. Actually, we won districts. We were at a state tournament. The first night we were there, woke up in the middle of the night, had this horrible panic attack. And it was like almost a year later. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Same thing. Got through it. Didn't have them anymore. Felt anxious, but didn't have any more. Well, that fall, I traveled again, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had another one. And I'm like, what in the world is wrong with me? And the Lord was like, this is COVID. It was that clear. This is COVID. It was like it retrained me to think, well, the only safe place is your home. And for me personally, I'm thinking, well, I'm traveling, I'm doing my thing. Like, why? The most frustrating thing for me with mental health was that there weren't things that I was personally fearing.
Yeah.
They weren't things that I even had on my radar of things that would bother me.
Yeah.
But my mind will do everything it can to protect my body. So there are things that are locked away in briefcases and put into storage that my mind is telling my body, wake up, run, because you're in trouble.
Yep.
And I'm saying run like there's a bear chasing you. Like that same adrenaline hits. My heart's beating out of my chest. I mean, I can't get my body to relax. And so this goes on for the next, 2024? This goes on even to now. And sometimes it gets worse where I'll be somewhere for 4 nights and every night I start having them. And I'm thinking, and I was talking to my wife, I said, the reason this is frustrating is because I personally don't feel the fear anymore.
Yeah.
So the difference is before I'd feel the fear, I'd wake up scared and kind of out of my mind, and then I would feel the panic attack. Now I will wake up, I don't have any fear, I don't have any worry about the situation, but then it just hits me.
Your body's just trained.
Responding
to
what my mind has told it needs to be prepared for.
Yeah.
It's a whole new place for me. And we recently went to Chicago, and if it's weird for me because in the hours of probably about 12 to 4, if I wake up and it's 4 o'clock, I'm good. If I go to bed and fall asleep, if I wake up after 12, from 12 to 4, I always have one. If it's after 4, it's good. It's like I feel safe. And so I was like, Lord, if I had bodyguards that were standing at that door in a private jet and a car waiting for me, I knew at any moment I could leave. Would I have this?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that is causing this? Because I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
But what I know is I've learned, well, actually, I can't put my finger on it. Over the last, this has been now 3 years I've been going through these. Every time I leave, 3 years. And it hasn't stopped me from traveling. It hasn't stopped me from doing these things. But what it's showing me is that my mind has things so buried in it that I was healing through. And then COVID, for a full 1.5 years, 2 years, told me the only safe place is inside your house. And I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But now, because it was something I struggled with a long time ago, my mind is in this place where I'm having to recondition it. And I've read up on it, and it's like the fear. And so basically, the whole thing has turned into a fear of sleep.
Yep.
Which is odd because I don't fear sleep. Like if I'm at my house, I'll fall asleep and wake up in the morning. Like there's not even, I might roll over at 3:30 in the morning for 2 seconds. Like I don't lose sleep here. And honestly, when I'm on the road, I don't really, unless I have one of these episodes. But I say this because there's nothing I can personally pinpoint and say, well, this is why. This is what I've been through. There's no new trauma. But COVID has told me that fear I had as a kid that I got over, it was a legitimate fear. And now as an adult, I need to reassess these things. And so working through that fear of like, well, this is the thing. If I'm away from home, I'm not safe. And if I'm asleep, I'm vulnerable. I have zero problems when I'm awake. I have zero problems when I know people are awake.
Yeah.
But when you're asleep and everybody's asleep, you're vulnerable, right? People say, what's a mental health disorder? You could take medicine. I think medication's a great tool. I think, those things. But what I'm saying is I know why it's there. And I know that it's a thing to work through. It's taking me years, but I'm fighting it.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I know my brain is trying to protect my body, but I don't feel the fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's buried so deep from all the things I've seen aesthetically and all the things that they've told us. And it's weird in so many ways. And it's frustrating more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's to the point now where I just get frustrated. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And you're just almost mad. Me talking about having 30 of them in the last 3 years. It's just frustrating. I don't have them during the days. I don't get them. But it's something. I had a panic disorder as a kid. And these things try to come at you. Does it slow me down? No. Does it make me think twice? Sometimes, but it doesn't stop me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just need to realize that you're not alone.
Yeah.
Don't stop living your life. The 99% of the things that I've read when it comes to this stuff is they say put yourself in the places where there's stimulation. Put yourself in those situations where it's going to cause them. And that's what I keep doing.
Yeah.
I keep putting myself back in those situations.
Exposure therapy, yeah.
Exposure. I used to have a fear. I never feared flying because I was afraid to crash. I feared flying because I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even now, like when I'd go fly, it's like, okay, there's a little bit of anxiety. Like I just know that for the next hour and a half or 2 hours or 3 hours, I'm like not gonna be able to get out. And dude, I've flown to Israel on 16-hour flights, and I've flown to, Greece, and I've flown all over the place. So it wasn't like I don't have a comfortability, but that's all gone now.
Yeah.
That's what's odd. Like I'll go to an airport and not have the slightest fear about flying. I don't have the slightest fear about being locked in a pressurized tube, 30,000 feet above the earth. Zero. I'd have zero concern.
Our last trip didn't give you any tries?
No. In fact, I think on the way I expected there to be some because I hadn't flown in like 4 or 5 years because of COVID. I had flown. It wasn't like I was flying a lot, put it that way. And we flew there, and honestly, even we were flying to a place we didn't need to go in the middle of the night. We had to drive to a place we didn't know where we were going. I mean, you talk about being out of your comfort zone, but I didn't think twice about it. It was like, whatever. And we flew to Chicago recently. I don't think about it anymore. Like for me, I was trying to talk we're going to Kansas City for baseball this summer, and I told my wife, I was trying to talk her into flying because I just don't want to drive, but we're taking our RV. I was like, can we fly that thing? Like, I don't want to drive it. But the reality is, like, there's things that I used to fear that I don't even fear anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just trying to be transparent here because I know there's people listening that you're like, man, I don't know why I feel this way or why I see this way. There is a reason.
Yeah.
And your mind will protect your body at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
It will do everything it can.
And I think you would attest to the fact, too, that it's like it's in the same way that disciplining your body is hard work. I mean, you want to get in shape, you want to, whatever it is you want to do, lose weight, whatever. It is hard work to get to those places. It is self-discipline. In the same way your mind it's not really that much different. Sure, I think medically our mind is still a mystery. We're wonderfully and beautifully made, and there's a lot of scripture that talks about the renewing of your mind. And I think Scripture is such a beautiful thing. You've already talked about Psalms that book for me even is one of the most highlighted books because in those times you turn to those places, you read those scriptures where people, David has wrestled with these things, but you have to train your mind. I mean, it is hard work, as I'm sure you can attest. Like even sitting here being like, I don't know. I don't know the core. I don't know the depths at which this goes. And that is the journey of kind of like, not ignoring it and being like, well, I'm not going to fear it, but I gotta figure it out. I gotta go through the process of being like, okay, what is this? Where is this? I think that was a huge process for me. And it seems so elementary. Like I remember my counselor giving me an emotions wheel. And it even looked like a thing a kid would draw. Like it had it looked such like a kiddie thing. But I remember going on a walk and just looking at that emotions wheel. And there's this outer core of emotions and then a middle and then into the center. And it shows you where your emotions are housed. And so for mine, a lot was housed in hurt. And so it helps your emotions flow to like, well, why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling frustrated? Why, all these ones on the outside. And it leads to a deeper place. And when you realize what that deeper place is, it helps you uncover things. And I think we just have to be okay with getting rid of this stigmatism still. I think it's gotten way better, but still of like, I don't need help. Like, especially as guys, if I can be open with this, like, we absolutely have grown up and even still have this like unfortunate thing where it's like, well, just tough it up. Like, whatever, just tough it up. I mean, I've recognized areas where I've been through counseling, and sometimes like I don't even give my own children space for their emotions. And I'm like, man, I need to do a better job at this because I'm still learning and growing in this. And you put like, my biggest thing would be, I think it's so great that we're talking about this. Let's keep talking about it. But for people, put in the work, put in the effort, because it is worth it. It's not, don't ignore, in the same way that you shouldn't ignore your physical health, don't ignore your mental health.
Well,
Like,
and just to your point, even with the kids, like I have one of my children, he just cries. So anytime I ask him if he did something, he's mad. Like, or if I say, "Do you just no?" and he starts crying, and he's been like that his whole life, and it drives me nuts. Where I will say, "Hey, bro, stop crying and talk to me."
yeah.
Like, and maybe I shouldn't, but for me, it's like he just cries. I'm like, dude, just stop crying. Like
Yeah.
everything is immediate cry,
Yeah.
and it drives me insane because it's not even that important sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes if he hasn't slept or you know what I mean, how it is.
Yeah, dude.
It's like there's different things.
Yeah.
And so I'll just ask him, and he's the only one that holds grudges. Like he would just hold a grudge and won't like want to talk to you, and then he'll talk to you later. But yeah, it's just different. You know what I mean?
Well, I realized this thing, literally, this was just last night, and it's been something I've been thinking about the past couple of weeks. Well, my oldest, it is very much a thing where, you know, I have 2 boys and they can be competitive. So he's very competitive with his younger brother. His younger brother is very competitive with him. But he's older. And so therefore, I think from my perspective, he needs to be a little bit more responsible. But I've realized a thing lately, and honestly, I've yet to even necessarily talk to him about it, but it just hit me last night where he gets really emotional sometimes. And it's because I feel like sometimes myself and my wife, we don't defend him enough. Like I've almost put too much pressure on him to be the older brother and you're the responsible one. And to the point where when anything goes wrong, we don't come to his defense. We probably more come to Aiden's defense. And I just realized like, man, I don't want my kid to be like, I don't defend them. Like I don't stand up for them. And that hit me hard. Like, it's like, gosh, I got to do a better job at this. And I realized, like, I think that's a place where a lot of his emotions come from because there's almost so much pressure that, frankly, I've put on him. You know, that frankly, like, I'm like, hey, you're a little bit older. You need to, like, set the example. But it's like, he's a kid. He's an 11-year-old kid. Like, so I don't know. It's like, you have to really stop and think about these things because, as I know you can attest, as I can attest, man, those childhood things, like those are what I had to uncover in my counseling. Like you sit here and think like, why am I depressed? Why can't I sleep? Why am I going through this? Yeah, there's external stressors right now. But when I went through counseling, I talked all about my childhood. And all of these emotions and feelings came up that I've just suppressed for the longest time. And I think it's this big indicator of, that's when your brain is wired the way it is. And like a lot of kids grow up being wired that way because of their upbringing. And I think it's put a lot more pressure on me as far as like how I parent, but as well as in my marriage and, you know, and then how I deal with my own kind of like personal mental health. It's just, it changes everything. It really does. And so, yeah, just don't ignore it.
Yeah.
Don't go through life ignoring it.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my final thought.
Here's my final thought.
The question I want to ask everybody is just what can you cut? I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about things.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at in my life. I don't feel like there's not, you know, in the last 2 years, just 2 years of my life, Casey's finishing her master's. She just graduated. I started and finished my doctorate, which just finished. Thank you for all you who've been reaching out. By the way, thank you guys. We love you very much. Very, very grateful. That ring is the door opening up. We're here in the construction
They might not even
site,
be able to
in
hear it,
case
to
you're
be honest with
wondering,
you. Yeah.
but anyway, we done that. We started a baseball program. You know, I'm president of our little league, which is a 100% volunteer full-time job. The church has moved 3 times.
Yep.
We opened a campus in Maryland on a building that we own, but we had to completely redo. Is that safe?
Oh, yeah.
We've rebuilt 3 of the 4 locations we've had in the last 2 years. We've rebuilt by hand.
Yep.
Is that fair?
Yep.
This being the 3rd. I would say 4. We've had 4 locations, and we've had to rebuild all of them because even the high school we were in, we had to buy an outfit thing, $120,000 worth of banners and everything else.
Yeah.
So in 2.5 years, we've had 4 locations, and one of them is in Maryland, but we've put our hands on every one of them.
Yeah.
We moved. My wife and I moved into a property that takes a lot of time and effort to maintain. And that's not me crying wolf. It's just saying it's just a lot, you know, amongst other things. And I coach. I coach a 13U team that travels a lot. All 4 of my boys are in baseball. We have 2 games in a practice. Like tonight, we have a game and 2 practices.
Yeah.
3 different kids.
Yeah. To back you up, 4 kids, all in sports.
Yeah.
I feel for you.
Yeah. And we live 30 minutes away from everything. That's our fault. But my point in all that is it wasn't that I was doing things God didn't ask me to do. It wasn't that I put myself in things that I didn't feel God stirred me to do. My wife and kids are important. Some people are like, I'm so busy. And then they got like a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old in sports. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, we don't let our kids play till they're 7 for a reason. Yeah. We have 4 of them. Asher wore his uniform the last 2 years to the complex. This year, we finally got to wear one on the field. And I'm not saying it's wrong for letting them play when they're little. I'm all for it. I'm just saying we didn't, you know?
Yeah.
We were doing things God called us to do, and we were doing them well, and we were doing the best that we had. But I'm at the season of my life now where I know that there are some things God's asking, and I know like for Palms and some things I want to do and things that God's taken us to as we open up more campuses, which is really the vision over the next year to have more campuses open up. There are things, it's not having to cut, but there are things I have to step away from that there's no definition or reason. This is where I've come to. I have prayed about it. I have labored on it for months, probably 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Looking for a reason, looking for something to identify, you know, the tension or the precipice or the reason. I just need a reason. And I've come to the conclusion that there's no reason. It's just time. And it's not the amount of time. It's just the right time for me. And so there are things that for me in my life, I know that it's just time. It's just time for me to step away from, or time for me to move on from, or time for me to, because our schooling is over and, you know, our kids are in all these things, and the church, like God has all these things, and I've got to be present here and things that he's calling me to do. And they're not always things that I want to do. You know, some of the things I want to do is not always the things God's asking of me, but I know that it's better than anything I can imagine. And my wife always says, do you think God will give you second, or do you think he'll give you more than you could ever imagine? Do you think he'll let you do the things you love and then some?
Yeah.
And I think that's the trust thing, and that's probably where I struggle.
Yeah.
And so I know for me, when I have these conversations of mental health, I can never find solace or solution outside of him. Because there's got to be this overarching thing that it means that I'm not in control and is bigger than me, and that's only God.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so he's the only way that I have good mental health is because I know that there's somebody bigger than me. There's a factor that's greater than me. There's a voice that's stronger than me, and a God that sees further than me, and that gives me peace.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So all of you listening, my final thought is, what can you cut? What are things that you love that you know God's not asking of you right now that you could cut that would help you? Because I'm in a place where for the first time in my life, I can look at pictures of myself and see, like, I've got to create space.
Yeah.
I just don't have it, right? I had Commander season tickets last year. I didn't go to one game. Like, it sounds dumb, but the reason I bought those wasn't to make money. It was to be able to do some things. You know, haven't golfed in 5 months, and I don't even love golf like that, but I like being able to do things. And my wife and I have talked, and it's like, yeah, we're in baseball season, it is what it is. But what I'm realizing is that I'm taking from me and the things that make me great and healthy to give to others. And God's not asking anybody to do that. You've got to make time for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got to make time. And take vacations. Take your wife out. Take her out on weekly dates. Take her, or try. Take her on vacation. Just you and your wife every year. Husbands and wives, you got to go by yourself somewhere for some time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that it's just important for everybody listening to know that mental health is valuable. Everybody has it. And how much you know about it's really up to you. You know what I mean? Make this a time that you can really look and do for you. I don't mind cutting the 9 acres of grass that I have if I have a day to do it, because I feel like it's just me out there with a weed eater, a push mower, and a zero turn. And it's solace.
Yeah.
It takes a whole day, but if I have a whole day to do it, it's like it needs to be done, but there's also a solace to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure.
So, just want to encourage everybody today. I know there's a lot of you listening that have anxiety, a lot that have fear, a lot that have been depressed, a lot that are in deep holes right now. You're struggling to get out of bed. You don't have hope for tomorrow, but I'm telling you, the Bible, read it. There is hope. His name is Jesus. And I promise you, the world does not have a solution, but Jesus does. And he will bring hope to the desperate situations. I can tell you that in the darkest days of my life, the reason I didn't pull a trigger or jump off a bridge was because there was a hope that was bigger than me. And it wasn't that, he's just going to make my life better. No, it was that I felt like somebody saw me. Honestly, It wasn't deep enough to be that. It wasn't deep enough about a savior to me. It wasn't deep enough to be about my kids or my wife. It was that I felt like I was always, at the end of the day, that voice just would not leave me.
Yeah.
And whether or not you want to admit it, you have that voice too.
Oh, yeah.
Let me pray. Lord, I just thank you so much. I pray for each and every listener. I pray that they would know you love them. I pray that they would know that you see them and that you are that voice. That, God, you are that noise in their ear and that thump in their spirit. God, we love you and we thank you. And everybody said, amen. Love you guys. See you next week.